Hello there, you're watching UPfront on the Joy News channel. I'm Blessed Sogah, and we're straight to the question. Why is government scrapping a number of taxes? The finance minister has indeed presented his broad agenda and plan for the NDC government and what they intend to do, starting off that whole process of resetting the Ghanaian economy, as they claim. But in that process, of course, the finance minister, Dr. Kasiela Toforson, laid before the House yesterday a clear plan that will now have at least 3 tax handles gone off the books. That's supposed to cost the country over some 2 billion cedis. But the question is, how will the government plug these holes and also refund or perhaps find some alternative measures in plugging this revenue leakages, if you want to call it as such? That's why we're having the conversation. Some say it's not a leakage, but of course we're losing some finances. A reason for which we want to have this conversation as to the 2025 budget and its implications in terms of the scrapping of some of the tax handles by the government. This is becoming a hot political topic because of what the former finance minister had to say yesterday about one of the handles, which is the tax handle on betting. He indicated yesterday, of course, and stoked that controversy, that the NPP administration had not started implementing that handle when they were leaving power. Listen.
Betting tax that they said they have abolished. We never collected betting tax. We never implement the betting tax. So to come and tell Ghanaians that you have abolished something that was not implemented is to deceive the people of Ghana.
And in fact, in the last few hours, this has stoked a national debate as to why these tax handles are going. And if indeed the NPP in the first place, of course, did not implement the measures as being pointed out. We've done our own research pointing out to the contrary as to whether or not the tax handle was indeed implemented. But for those of you who are not aware of the framework, obviously, there is a lot of nuances to it that we'll be getting into tonight. But I want to tell you about those who are helping us do the conversation for tonight. Dr. Sharif Khalid is the Vice President's Economic Advisor, joining us in studio. Thank you so much for your time here on UPfront.
Thanks for having me.
And we also do have joining us via Zoom, Richard Ahiagba, who is the Director of Communications for the New Patriotic Party. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. You've just heard from Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam speaking there at a news conference, announcing to the country that the NPP did not start implementing the tax handle on the betting tax. We need to be clear here. You were taking winning bonuses of those who were winning from bets across the country. Yet, of course, that surprise element came when the former finance minister, someone who was in charge of the economy, then told us that you had not started implementing. Was that a mistake, an oversight? How would you describe that?
Listen, you're directing that question to me?
Precisely, sir.
All right, thank you kindly. Good evening to your viewers and to my friend there in the studio. I think that the clarification to that has been brought to the extent that the minister was referring to what statement the finance minister made. He referred to 2 things in one, trying to explain the betting tax. We all know that the NDC said they were going to scrap the betting tax, the 10% betting tax. But the framing of that statement is misleading. And I think that that's what the minister was talking about. When you look at the act that established that tax handle, there is a component that is the 10% betting tax, the sports tax that we know. And there is also a 10% lottery winning on lotteries that was supposed to be taxed as well. Now, following the passage of the act, that aspect of it, based on consultation with stakeholders, was seen as one that would disrupt and was not embraced by players in that sector, and so was not implemented as a result. So if the minister had simply just said that he's abolishing 10% on betting tax as we know it, there wouldn't have been any controversy. So the controversy was generated by the
NDC's promise was clear, isn't it? You take a look at the 120-day social pact of the NDC, and it's clear they were targeting the betting tax. That's the betting component of the Gaming and the Betting Act that you're referring to. There was no ambiguity from the start. So Will the former finance minister apologize? Should he apologize?
No, there's nothing to apologize for. But have you read the statement? If you have a copy of
it clear,
the
isn't it? The promise was clear of the NDC, isn't it?
Sorry?
The NDC promise, was that clear?
No, it's clear. It's clear. But then if you promise, or if you have invited me here, Blessed, and you know it is me who you have invited and you are introducing me as somebody else, I should wonder if I'm the one you are referring to. So if they want to cancel betting tax 10%, as we all know it, there's no quibble about it.
But Khalid disagrees. He disagrees with you on that, clearly.
So the point is that what they want to do, we know it. But what he had written in the paper that he read to us is not what we know he wants to do.
Is that the case for you, Khalid? Yeah.
No, how is anything different? We were explicit on this in elevated words in our social contract. We're going to cancel betting tax, and that's what has been done explicitly.
He says you gave it a different name.
What different name? Tell us, let's have a discussion about it.
What did you promise the people of Ghana? I mean,
we were going to eliminate betting tax. What did the budget say? The budget says it's eliminating betting tax.
But
what is there to discuss?
You know too well that, of course, the promise was a bit vague, knowing that we have an act that comes
vague
with
in what sense? What was
there's
deemed,
gaming, there's betting, and of course there's
what was deemed the Newtown's tax here? It was a betting tax. Right. So what are we talking about? Did anybody talk about gaming?
Blessed, just 1 second, if you will. Is that okay?
Yeah,
just
do that quickly.
Let's go to the statement, okay? The budget speech that the minister read yesterday. Go to paragraph 141, okay? He says, Mr. Speaker, I will abolish the 10% withholding tax on winnings from lottery, otherwise known as the betting tax. Now, these are two different things in the act. One of it, the 10% withholding tax on winnings from lottery, that aspect of the tax handle in the act was not implemented. It's a separate thing.
Right.
And then there's 10% betting tax.
No, you see,
So
your preamble, your preamble from when you started is you did your own research. What revenue had accrued?
But
was not from betting tax.
Obviously.
Right? Obviously. So what? Yes. So I don't see where we are coming. No, we see.
A very critical aspect. We need to look at that. There's a gaming and betting component.
Look, let's not confuse the public on what we're doing. It's a great disservice if we get into
But you have to also be mindful.
But what I am saying, whatever we are being mindful of, what revenue has been collected.
Right.
What did your research point out to? What did we state in our contract? And what has been cancelled? As simple as that. So why do we have to go into or be taken into a different realm of what is in an act or what is not in an act? We'd never discussed acts when we're doing it. We said we're going to cancel betting tax.
I'll come to you, Richard. Yes.
And exactly what we've done. So if you want us to have another discussion on what you think it is about taxation of bettings that we need to relook at, fine, you can bring up the discussion.
I'm asking the question because of what... I get the point, but I'm asking the question because of what's in the act itself. There's the lotteries aspect.
You see, why are you allowing yourself to be taken into a rabbit hole? That's my point.
But that's also a critical aspect.
No, what critical aspect?
The finance minister
was the promise?
is well aware
what was the promise that was made?
The decision to scrap this tax would not be in a vacuum, right?
Why would it be in a vacuum?
Because the finance minister would have to revoke a portion of an act which gave the impetus to the former government.
Yeah, which has been laid before Parliament, and Parliament has the decision to do that now.
Yeah, but there's a lottery aspect to it, for which, of course, the NPP feels be specific on what you're taking away.
We have been specific and explicit. From day one, when we said we're going to cancel the betting tax, did the NPP come to us to tell us that this is what the act said? Is that what we had the discussion on? We had a social contract with the good people of Ghana, which also canceled the betting tax. So taking us into the realm of a rabbit hole is neither here nor there. You have done your own research. A minister came out to speak to the whole of the generality of the Ghanaian public that nothing has been accrued. You did your own research. It confirmed that, allocations were being made and deductions were being made. So if we say we are cancelling this and we have cancelled this, period. Why go into the realm of a rabbit hole to discuss all of these things?
Richard?
We can't keep shifting the goalposts on what has been changed. But in any case, it was a right thing to do in the past. Why is he trying to deconstruct an act now? Why did they not construct the act or deconstruct it when they were implementing it?
Right.
Blessed, my brother Khalid always talk plenty and it doesn't go anywhere. This whole argument is making doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
If it's a mistake the minister made, nobody is quibbling about what tax you want to abolish or not. There's no argument about it. But when there are two tax handles, and you are speaking about the two things, one has not been implemented. The question simply we're posing is that something that is not been implemented, you cannot abolish it. The one that is implemented, if that's what you want to abolish, state it. If you go to paragraph 47 of the budget speech, he mentions budget, the betting tax that has accrued about 180 million. By the way, he made a mistake. They spelled it out as Betty tax. So if it's a mistake that he said that in paragraph 141, say so, because we are confused. There are two tax handles.
Okay, but
it is consequential. Blessed, let me just make this point.
Yeah.
It is consequential to make the point, because there are two tax handles.
I get the point, but let me ask you the question. The point about the third aspect to it, there's the lotteries and there's the betting. The NDC was specific that they were taking the betting aspect away. There's no ambiguity about that. In fact, you created the act, and the finance minister promised that the third phase was going to be focused on lotteries, which we know borders on the NLA. So
Blessed.
Yeah, so the point is, it will be moot if you say, well, why did you promise, why are you promising not to take the lotteries away?
Look, it is a consequential statement to make, right? When the finance minister
it does not exist. You have that.
Hold on. The impression you are creating is that you have written something in your statement that is consequential. It's a tax handle, two of them. Now, it is politics as it is. You say you are going to remove a betting tax. It is different from the 10% withholding tax on winnings from lottery. They are two different things. So refer to what you want to cancel. So if it is a mistake the minister has made, let him correct it. If it is a mistake he has made, let him correct it. We're not arguing about whether he's canceling or is not canceling. That's not the point. The point is that why are you talking about two things when you mean one thing? The other one, you are not canceling because it hasn't been implemented. That's what the minister meant. What you are referring to has not been implemented. Richard is invited. What's
the big deal, by the way?
I am invited, Blessed. I am invited to be here. My deputy is not invited to be here. But you cannot be saying that you have invited two people from the NPP, me and my deputy.
The interesting aspect to that conversation is that it's still the NPP anyway. And that's what
the point is that we are NPP, but we are two different people. So there are different taxes you are talking about.
Do you think Ghanaians will see it that way? It's just, for them, it's all about the tax, whether it's lotteries, betting, whatever it is. It's gone, isn't it?
So are you saying that we shouldn't care about accuracy? That the minister should come and say anything and then we walk away with it?
What will be paramount to you then, Richard?
We're talking about policy, right? A government policy that is going to abolish a tax handle. Which tax handle? We have two. He's mentioning all two in one sentence. To say that he's abolishing one, we know which one he wants to abolish. But what we are saying here is that he's mentioning two things. Okay, to the unsuspecting mind, he's actually abolishing two taxes.
What should be paramount to?
Is abolishing one.
What should be paramount to the taxpayer? And I'm just wondering, is this some? Forgive me if I use the word. Regret on the part of the NPP that you could not take away this tax handle? There's a political credit perhaps coming to your opponent now.
No. I mean, in the 2024 campaign, you saw we'll take it out.
Oh,
we want it out.
You promised that?
Yes, we promised we're going to remove that
Richard,
tax handle.
Are you sure about this?
The 10% betting tax, we're going to remove it. But you see, you are talking about two things. You know, it should matter to you that we have two distinct tax handles. If you are removing one, say which one you are removing. Okay? If you are removing one, say which one. Don't conflict the two, but when you mean one. And you see, as I was showing you, when you go to paragraph 147, then he comes to talk about the betting tax. But in 141, he created the impression talking about something else. What I am
just before I bring in Khalid, should we be giving any credit to the president, John Mahama, now for meeting, it's part of the 120-day social pact that they will take this away? Should we be giving them credit and lauding them for this?
No, there's no quibble about that. We would have been removing this tax if we had won the election. We would have removed it. We want to remove it, and we support them to remove it. There's no quibble about it.
Implemented in the
but when you are removing what you say you will do, say exactly that. Don't say more.
Right. Let me bring
it is a question of accuracy. It is a question of communication. It's a question of accuracy. If the minister in typing the statement inadvertently confused the two, let that be clarified.
Okay.
We are not arguing about anything else. We're saying that there are two things.
Khalid,
if he knows
let me hear you. Yes.
Then say
just hold on. Yeah. Rich, just hold on. Yes. Khalid, let me hear you. Yes.
It's utterly disappointing that Richard is trying to take us through this rabbit hole of what is not in question. It has been explicitly stated what it is. Right. I don't even know why we need to dwell over 5 minutes on what has been explicit as a social contract, a manifesto promise, and what the finance minister has gone to parliament to do. In any case, the finance minister is not working in isolation. It takes parliament, right, to decouple this. So what's the problem here? What are we facing with? Or what are we being faced with? So let's not allow Richard to mislead us into a big rabbit hole of first going on. We have other important issues.
I see. And let's look at some of these important issues then. 2 billion plus we're losing in revenue measure. Yeah. You're not worried about that?
No, why are you worried about it? Because we have not just gone for an elimination of important taxes. We went after nuisance taxes. And we talk about nuisance taxes.
We've heard this before.
What? Sorry?
We've heard this before.
Yeah, yes, and we're talking about nuisance taxes.
Are they really?
Oh, you don't think they're nuisance? You're happy paying more, right? When you transfer from one account to another account, you're being charged.
It's not just about me.
You're happy about that?
You should be more
right? You're happy that
because you're running a government that will need
funds. Yes, so that tells you, of course we need those funds, but when you have a regressive tax measure in place, it distorts the tax landscape. What we are invariably trying to do is to soften a very hard landscape that has been laden with nuisance taxes.
Tell me how betting tax, for instance, is a nuisance.
Well, I'll give you an example of what do you call it, e-levy, right? When we talk about nuisance taxes and how it is. For example, you look at the component of people that would want to do electronic transfers, right, or the movement. Just move from your locale or geography of it, account to account basis, you are being charged without even having no transaction.
Right.
If I pick 2 phones, all belonging to me, and I transfer it from one account to another account, that's a big disincentive to business. More so when we are trying to get people to get onto an online transaction system. So you have a government that
you're doing convenient politicking.
No, it's not. Look at the bet. Do you know the number of people? No, I'm still coming here. Yeah. Do you know the number of people? We're talking about a cashless economy. We're talking about growing economy. Do you know the number of people who do not want to use electronic transfers because of that?
You're talking about just the e-levy.
Right.
Of course, and to be fair, when it came at first, the rates were quite higher.
Yes.
Then there was a revision by the government based on what the
was it needed in the first place? That's the question.
Well, revenue measure again.
No, but what brought it? It is the hardening. It is a hardening the austerity measure that we got in as an economy, where they looked around to see where they could get revenue issues. Instead of broadening the tax base net, they went for low-hanging fruits.
I'm talking about convenience also because that's not the only revenue measure going.
Yes.
Betting, for instance, your winning bonuses is an income.
Yes. No, but the point
you pay taxes on your income.
You don't want people
to
realize a fundamental thing that the finance minister has done to actually soften this hard tax landscape we've had, right? There is going to be a reduction in tax refunds. And when that happens, because you're trying to soften the way, when that happens, more and more are not going to be paid out in cash refunds. That is plowed back into the economy as far as that is concerned. And it allows a recalibration of the tax framework moving forward.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Who have you robbed? Okay. You haven't taken anything from anyone. So I think we should advisedly use our terminologies very well. Nobody has been robbed. No Peter here, no Paul there.
No Peter, no Paul.
But you are actually recalibrating for sustainable tax framework and actually softening a hard tax landscape we had.
There's no Peter, there's no Paul, but there's Richard.
There's Richard who lead us down a rabbit hole.
And Richard, tell me what you think about that.
I think my brother is going to have a hard time doing this communication in government. He's no longer in opposition.
Oh, look, Richard.
They must begin to take responsibility. When you have written an error in your budget statement, or your budget speech, if you have written
Richard to take us back.
Accept it. But Richard, the point I want to make, I just want to be clear, because Blessed, it should matter to you when you read the news and you misreport. Okay, you write an error in your news. It should matter to you to correct it. So what the minister wrote is not what he intended.
Okay, will your former finance minister also apologize?
Absolutely. I mean, he should clarify that this is what I meant. Everything else that I said there is supposed to have been betting tax, 10% betting tax. I know it on spot. That's it. That's all we're all saying. There's no argument there at all. It's not even a matter to argue because we all agree that the tax should go.
I see that you're saying,
What is of concern to me is the budget that does not inspire confidence and hope.
Really? Okay, this is the point. This is the point, because I see that your side of the house, I mean the NPP MPs, will be holding a press conference tomorrow, obviously re-echoing some of the key points you're raising. But when it comes to the issue about the e-levy, for instance, you had Khalid speak about it. There was a whole uproar about it. Partly or arguably is the reason why perhaps you didn't win a lot of favor from the electorate. It cost you politically, and yet you're still going on this spree of defending these tax handles. Why is the NPP so attached to the e-levy? Yeah, why are you so attached to the e-levy such that you just don't want it to
We're
go?
not defending anything. I mean, you are talking as if you are not in this country.
You want the e-levy to stay or go?
No, 2024. Are you not aware of our manifesto? Our manifesto promised we were going to take off e-levy. Please, Blessed, with all respect, don't create that impression.
Yeah, but you're the same people asking the question, where are we going to find the alternative? Where are we going to find the alternative funding? You've been asking that question ever since.
You're asking if we took it off?
No, I'm saying that your party has been consistent asking the government where they would find the replacement for all these handles that are going.
But of course, if we were in government and we took it off, we have to find the money to replace it.
Where were you going to find the money? Where were you going to find the money as the NPP then?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Blessed.
Right.
It's not just a question of take off the tax, because the funding of the state must go on, right? So if a tax, when we came in 2017, we repealed about 14 or 15 taxes. We did that. Okay, but we have to find a way to close the funding gap created by the repeal or removal of those taxes. So as a government, if you take away a revenue handle, you must find a way to fund government business by finding alternative ways of revenue to be able to solve that. So that's really a question we must ask them. If you're asking me, I'm not the government, I am not in government, so whatever I would have done would not, what I will tell you now will not matter. They are in charge of our press.
But the point I am making
is that we have the right to ask them. They must show us
where they'll get the alternative from,
where they are going to close the gap from, and that's really a legitimate question.
Okay,
it doesn't mean that we want the e-levy to stay.
You're not attached to it at all. Okay, so I'll take that back as you're saying, because you're now giving a clear sense.
We made a campaign promise about it, so we're not going to.
Yeah, but the litmus test is out, isn't it? The reactions have been greeting this. Imani President Franklin Kujo, for instance, writing on X, saying this is a breath of fresh air. Just to paraphrase some of the words he's used about this new budget that we've heard. Neutrals speaking about the 2025 budget and saying it's bringing hope.
Okay.
You don't believe that?
Well, they should point to us where the hope is coming from. Because, you see, when you read the NDC manifesto, 2024 manifesto, they tell you that their fiscal policy will be anchored. The 24-hour economy will anchor their fiscal policy. They show our first year, okay, with their first year budget, and there's no allocation for 24-hour economy implementation. How is that inspiring hope? Every young person in this country, most people who voted for the NDC did so on the back of the 24-hour economy proposition. That came to Parliament, and then they are going back now to come up with a framework or policy proposition as to how they are going to implement that. They sat in a manifesto session, they did consultation, and implemented and told us that is a policy they are going to implement. And then they just showed up in Parliament, the finance minister, who would have to show us what the priority or what in terms of prioritization, where that policy stands in terms of government's direction, has not shown us how they're going to fund that program. They don't even have a framework for it. So what I'm saying is that if the eye of their policy direction in terms of growth, in terms of job creation, in terms of their fiscal policy, the bit that anchors it has not been prioritized the way it ought to be prioritized. You haven't answered this my question. There is no allocation for it in the budget as we speak. I don't have hope.
What was the blueprint of the NPP? Where were you going to find the alternative from? You didn't state that in your manifesto, did you?
Yeah, but that question doesn't arise.
We are
not
looking for the
government.
solution to the economy now.
It's an exercise. It's an exercise.
Richard, come on, be charitable a bit to the NDC.
Listen, that is an exercise in futility when you're asking
you wouldn't help to build this nation if you don't have political power.
Who is sitting with you? Anyway, congratulations to him.
He's got an appointment.
He's sitting right there.
Richard is not congratulating
He canvassed for this job. Now he has the job. He should tell how he's going to do it.
Okay, so now it's his turn. That's what you're saying. But are you saying you would help build this economy if you're not in power? Is that what you're telling us, Richard?
He should bring his idea. What idea they have put in the paper?
I mean,
an idea. Look, that's it. You know that what they have proposed in the budget. Khalid, I'm coming. One second. You know what they have proposed in the budget is not workable. This whole thing about reducing the tax refund account, reducing from 6% to 4%. That is some voodoo communication the finance minister is doing.
Okay,
because really that account
Richard,
is part of the consolidated account.
Let's bring you.
You're allowing Richard to hijack the day. I don't know. And you see
no, Khalid, you are in the studio. You have more time.
Okay. Right. I don't know what Richard is talking about. This is a political party. Richard, right, and his crew out there during the run-up to the election said that the 24-hour economy, nobody understood it. Today, he's telling us that the youth of Ghana voted for us because of the 24-hour economy. Where are you coming up from this? Now, in any case, what people are ignoring is that you can't just say I'm voting X million to 24-hour economy. I mean, where are you taking this to? That would rather be voodoo policy, right? As he's trying to ascribe to the finance minister. When we talk about the 24-hour economy, we are talking about how other key sectors of the economy can anchor to drive a 24-hour economy. Now we talk about the big push, which 10 billion is going to be voted into. Now you look at the big push should comprise of agro-processing, infrastructure, among other issues. Where is the 24-hour economy going to be derived from? We're talking about infrastructure. We're talking about road networks. We're talking about agro-processing, right? So imagine, as I give an example, or a classic example, which I like to do when we talk about the 24-hour economy. Let's say we're going to, get the downstream sector of the petroleum sector, which is the OMCs, blah, blah, blah. Let's say we have a Shell at close to, at Circle. That's a classic example. Right. Then we say, okay, as a government incentive, if you probably, after midnight, at the stroke of midnight, a certain tax, continue working, but you have a certain tax rebate, right? Or a certain tax incentive if you continue to work. And if this allows a lot more stations to work and employ people and the economy and taxation and among other issues, how do you expect that in a budget statement? Right. The 24-hour economy is driven by supply and incentive and demand and incentive. So what is Richard talking about? An allocation to a 24-hour economy.
But what is the stimulus, by the way?
The stimulus, we've mentioned big push.
Question.
But we said the big push. And we are voting 10 billion into the big push.
Where is it pronounced in this first budget? Where is it pronounced in, as topical as possible in this budget?
No, my point is, do you expect
the grand plan for the 24-hour?
Of course, but we started a grand plan by appointing an advisor. On the 24-hour economy. Gusitano held that, right? A secretariat is being set up for the 24-hour economy. All of this is in motion. So what are we talking about? Or you expect that 10 billion is being allocated to the 24-hour economy? Who's going to take this seriously?
But this is the finance minister
policy
who's presenting not just the monetary allocations, but a fiscal economic plan.
And all of what that economic plan.
The 24-hour economy.
That economic plan
is missing.
It's not missing. That economic plan he's laid is the foundation and anchor for the 24-hour economy. What are we talking about? You don't believe so?
Well, it's not mine to believe. I mean, it's also going to be demand-driven. You can't force, for instance, some of these companies you're talking about.
Of course. So which is why we are saying
services.
So which is why we say we have a big push, and we're putting billions into the big push.
Well, where's the fund going to come from, by the way?
No, when you say where's the fund going to come from,
but I need to ask you the question. It's easy to say, okay, COVID-19 is gone, betting is gone. Why are you getting the money?
When there was no COVID-19, when there was no e-levy, among other issues, where you're not getting government revenue.
Where are you going to get the big push?
No, where we're not getting revenue.
We used to.
Right? When one
but not as much.
Yes. I mean, look at what we've done. We've done a lot of smart issues in terms of cancellations of, amalgamation of ministries, which is going to cut costs. Independence Day celebration, which you guys never really probably want to talk about. Look at the cost-cutting measure that came into it. Right? We're talking about key incentives that has happened as far as 1D, 1F is gone. So again, we can call them nuisance policies.
Information Minister will challenge you on that yes, you're reducing the numbers.
Yes.
But you take a look at the nominal figures and it's not
Which
helping
nominal
anybody.
figures? Count them. We can have
The
them.
bureaucracies are not gone.
What bureaucracies are you
If you
talking
take,
about?
for instance, a government communications minister.
Yes.
Yes, he might not have a fully
Who
fledged
doubles
ministry.
as a government spokesperson?
What you have happening
But what
is
I'm saying, who doubles as a government?
all of these institutions
hold it.
The bureaucracy.
No, hold it. Who doubles as, you're giving an example and we need to exhaust that.
Yes.
Who doubles as a government spokesperson, right?
Yeah.
Whereas we had director of communications, a deputy director of communications, and informations minister, among other issues, as opposed to that. So what are you talking about? When you make these comparisons.
Okay, but here's the issue. Richard, just a minute. Let's wrap up on this. The issue about even the cut on expenditure, for instance.
Yes.
We've just seen, if I should call it a temporary measure. We've not seen any grant.
No, when you say temporary measure, I mean you are not being. This is an early day government. You've seen something happen. Why do you call it a temporary measure?
You have a one.
Why are we? Do you think that the ministries that were amalgamated or brought together, some cancelled out, are going to be recalled back?
Yeah, but you're not sending
Or
everyone home.
an
I'm saying that the bureaucracies are still there. You still have the people.
So you want to? Who do you want to send home? Who do you want to be sent home?
No, but you should be answering that.
No, yeah, the point is, it is not about sending people home. It is about cutting excesses. And that's exactly what we have done. So if you are cutting excesses and you are sending people home, what are you talking about? Because you're talking about people who have pensions, people who have their salary, look after their family, build a home, whatsoever. We are not here to send people home. We are here to create jobs and cut waste.
What would you say to someone
the waste
who
is what
walks
we are
up to you
cutting.
to say what the NDC is doing now is just being in a hurry to achieve just hold on for me, a 120-day pact to please your political class.
You see, there's something called about
your grassroots.
No, in economics,
and to score
in
more
economics, there's
points.
something called signaling. Exactly what we've been doing. Right, we're signaling to the market that Ghana is open up for investments. We're ready. This is it. So when you do these kind of cost-cutting measures, what you're doing is that you're telling the people out there invariably that, look, I'm taking a pinch here. I'm taking a bit of the pain, right? And psychologically, that has a stimulus, incentive to get investors to say, well, if the government is doing X, Y, Z, then it's a good thing for me to invest back into the economy, as was being held back.
Right.
I mean, look at where we're coming from. You're ignoring the fact that we've just returned from an overheated economy, a central bank posting losses, domestic debt exchange program, blue chip investments such as pensions being touched. Right, I think we're really performing wonders.
Amidst the global crisis.
Right, which global crisis?
COVID-19 was not.
COVID-19, did it affect the entire world? Abidjan, next door neighbor, Nigeria, next door neighbor, but you're all going by. So what are we talking about? We don't even know incentives for.
You understand this more than I do. That
it's an economic
fact. It's an economic fact that there was indeed
then the whole world should
meltdown.
throw its arms in despair.
Not despair. I'm talking about the effect.
Exactly what effect are you talking about?
That COVID had an impact on the economy.
But are we discussing? If you want us to have a discussion,
but it's a fact. It's just a fact that it was a factor that slowed down.
And that led us to going to the capital market to have that reckless borrowing spree. Was it COVID?
The NPP handed over to you.
No. I said, was it COVID? Was it COVID?
Pre-pandemic economy.
Yes, but I'm saying, was it COVID that led us?
But I'm saying to you that it's a fact
for the reckless borrowing spree that brought us to where we were.
It's a fact that the NPP gave you a pre-pandemic economy before leaving.
Under which we just ended an IMF program with them. Are you forgetting that? We had just ended an IMF program. Right. Cleaned up an economy and handed it over. But what I'm simply asking, what I'm simply asking is that where we are as an economy, right, the reckless borrowing spree that they went on the capital markets that led us to a junk status and put us where we are unable to even service our debts, was it caused by COVID-19? These are the fundamental questions we need to be asking.
Right.
Okay. I can see you trying to play the devil's advocate.
But I need to ask you the questions.
We ought to do that contextually.
But we also have to ask you the questions because then we get the answers. Because you just have 60 days more, right, to meet your 120-day pact.
Oh, so you're really interested in this pact. I thought you said we're ticking boxes. So we're really appreciating you should be patting us on the back.
Richard, here's the point. But it's a fact. The president has spoken about this, that for instance, his presidential staffers, if you take a look at the numbers, are nowhere close to your 336, for instance. He was even touting that as of today, when he was swearing in the deputy ministers. Significant downsizing of government, more than what you did. You agree?
That's not a consequential point. We're talking about the budget. The budget.
Richard, but there's a cost element to that.
My good brother Khalid is asking you a question when he's supposed to be answering the question.
Oh,
right?
it's part of the public education.
Khalid, do you have a copy of your manifesto with you there?
No, unfortunately, no.
I can pull it off my phone. I can pull it off my phone. But why your fixation on our manifesto and not yours?
Oh, but you are in government. Don't forget.
In any case, mind you, you're the same government.
Let's get Richard.
No. Get Richard to get this right.
In a minute.
All of these, he said that they were going to cancel. You had a Bawumia-led EMT, Economic Management Team, that superintended over the implementation of all of this. Yet you are saying that you're going to cancel them when you came into power with him as president, which never happened anyway. Ghanaians could see
Richard. Downsizing obviously saves us a lot of money, isn't it? Yeah.
At least you take it easy. He's in government now. He must answer questions. He must get used to it. The last time he came and then he was in opposition, he was just asking questions plenty. Now he must answer it. That 24-hour economy is what you are bringing. Let's stay on that matter. If you read what the finance minister brought to parliament, he says that 24-hour economy aimed at stimulating economic growth by creating an enabling environment for business institutions to operate 24/7 in a 3-shift of 8 hours each to boost production, promote productivity, and generate well-paying jobs.
Yeah, they've been summarizing that 3 shifts. Three different
of 8
people.
hours each to boost production. All right. To promote productivity and generate well-paying jobs. We will be presenting the policy to Parliament in due course for consideration. What is that?
Yeah, it's the 24-hour economy, isn't it?
Brother, what is that? That's not a policy. The policy they promised they were going to.
By the way, if it's not a policy, what is it, Richard?
Hold on.
Yeah.
You promised us, you campaigned and you won an election on the back of a policy. And you show up and tell us that you'll be presenting a policy. Now, which means that this 1 year is gone. We're not going to see 24-hour economy.
He hasn't said that, has he?
No. There is no appropriation for it in the budget.
Yeah, Richard, I'm saying that he hasn't said that in his statement. I mean, the statement you just read to us did not say that it's not going to happen. There's no part of the statement that says that.
What you have here, if you go to the allocations, there's no allocation for 24-hour economy.
Yeah, but it's an economic plan, policy, and budgetary allocations. It's not just
anchored to several sectors of the economy.
Richard, you agree. It also includes a plan.
But you see, what I have read to you is not a passive state. It's not a passive policy. It's an active policy that requires resource to drive it. They tell you, at the very minimum, when they are trying to explain it in the many dimensions and the variations they have given us to be the definition of it, they will tell you that, they will provide electricity incentive to producers who are manufacturing or manufacturers are producing in the night. Is that not the case?
The big push doesn't make sense to you? 10 billion? 10 million?
The big push is infrastructure. It's not 24-hour economy. It's infrastructure.
But you need an enabling environment, Richard.
Sorry?
You need the environment.
So infrastructure is not part of the 24-hour economy. Richard, is that what you say?
I said distinct from 24-hour economy. It has its own name. It has its own name. 24-hour economy.
And let's for our viewers to understand you, what sort of resource allocations clearly would you need for a 24-hour economic policy? When indeed all you need is for the environment to be stimulated enough to operate for 24 hours.
That's it. I just read the minister's statement to you.
Yes.
That they will be bringing a policy to Parliament for consideration.
And you're saying that it lacks resource allocation. I'm saying what type of resource would you need for such a policy, knowing that it's much more reliant on the private sector?
They have to show us. I just told you one cost element, which they've been telling us that they will provide tariff incentive for manufacturers who would participate in the 24-hour economy production. So therefore, they will have reduced electricity tariff. Is that going to be free? No, it's going to be paid for. Where's the allocation to do that? Where's the allocation?
But in 2016, when you're campaigning, when President Akufo-Addo was campaigning to be president, Doomsor was a big issue. Power supply was, in fact, that was the campaign at the time, right? So energy, you need energy for a 24-hour economy.
And I'm saying that if you are saying you are going to subsidize energy cost to incentivize manufacturers to participate in the 24-hour policy that you have brought, in this budget, there isn't anything that shows how much you are going to spend on that tax incentive. How much is it? We don't know. Now he's saying that he will bring a policy for consideration. When is that policy going to come? We don't know. So this is a deceptive policy promise they made to Ghanaians. That promise is unfulfilled. You know, when he was ending his statement, he will mention this delivered. We have delivered. Did he say we have delivered 24-hour economy? No. Because
tell me, Richard, which part of the NDC's 120-day social compact says the 24-hour economy will be up and running by the end of 120 days?
That question, I'm not saying 120 days. The budget is not for 120.
Yeah, but
the budget is not for one.
But there's a social compact you're working with.
Don't do this. The NDC is no longer in opposition. They are running our country. We should ask them questions to answer. The budget we are talking about.
I mean, Ghanaians.
Hold on.
You campaigned with your manifesto, isn't it? And that gave us a clear idea of what you had planned.
Yeah. Forget about MPP, our manifesto. We are talking to my brother Khalid, who is a special aide to the vice president,
yes,
who is running our country. And I'm telling you that the budget we're discussing is not for 120 days.
And they came on the back of a promise.
The
promise within 120 days.
For me to make the point,
okay,
Blessed.
Right.
If you have invited me, allow me to make the point.
Right.
We are discussing a budget for a whole year. So the question about 120 days does not arise. Okay? In this budget, I am telling you for a fact, by design of this budget, you will not see the implementation of 24-hour economy in the 2025 fiscal year because there is no provision for it. They have not provided for it.
But there's an economic plan for it.
The plan, how do you implement the plan? It's not investment.
For instance, the headline allocations, we're hearing of some 270 million for Gold Board and the others. All these headline allocations would need appropriation. That's a different process of the budgetary process, you agree. The fine details will then have your members make their input in Parliament.
Listen, what is not estimated for, what is the budget? It's an estimate of expenditure and revenue. Is that not the case?
So no, you don't need an estimation. It's 24 hours, it's 24 hours.
But what is the cost element of it?
Cost element.
I'm just telling you that, listen, before you can implement the 24-hour economy, you're not going to pray. It's not prayer. Even prayer, you need to eat. The money you're going to use to buy the food to eat, to have the energy to pray, you have to allocate for. If you don't have money, you can't buy the food. So the 24-hour economy is not going to be implemented just by talking. There's going to be cost associated to it. So in the budget, where do we see the cost element that is going to drive that? If you create a secretariat,
no, you see the point. I don't know.
Hold on. Yeah. The secretariat have created, how are they funding it? The electricity subsidy.
I wanted us to get an answer. I wanted us to get an answer from him because it's specific.
I think that we would enroll Richard in the NDC.
I can answer your question.
We'll enroll Richard in the NDC school to get to know the full nitty-gritties of the 24-hour economy. No, it's a free pass. He's not going to pay anything for it. That's how charitable social democrats can be.
To the question, how will you fund it?
No, the point is,
how will you fund it?
No, when we say 24-hour economy, and the explanation of 24-hour economy we gave you, we said, look, it's demand-driven and incentive-driven. Now, 24-hour economy, right, permeates every facet of our economy and key sectors, from infrastructure to manufacturing to services, right? So do you expect that we have a quantification of all of this and say the minister is sticking this label to it as a headline item in a budget? That is practically, policy-wise, that is impossible.
Yeah, are you not surprised
what
that
the minister has done through this budget that aims to put a ray of hope, right, in a destabilized economy is that, look, there's going to be stability here. There's going to be the big push that we have agro-processing, we have infrastructure, among other issues. I'm voting X here. The GET fund has been uncapped. Among other issues to get all of these things. These are not hypotheses. These are existing. Hold on a second.
Requires less funding.
Hold on.
Is it not surprising to you that the president of the Republic has not perhaps...
Hold on.
Yeah, let me just land on the question.
Let me land on my point.
I get it, but it's just feeding into your point. Is it not surprising that you don't find the president signing an executive order or whatever it is to open up the economy for 24 hours if you require just less resources to operate this policy?
No, we understand we require less resources. Don't get me wrong. You're putting words into our mouth.
Yeah, but he was asking
but
you
are
whether you
these
were going
less
to fund that
resources? The big push a less resource.
Yeah, the
right?
big push is not.
Are the monies voted into the key sectors of economy a less resource? Are they? None.
I'm saying that
right. So
it's
what
more
we're
than 60
invariably?
days.
So you
It's
expect
more than
that,
60 days.
Yes.
There's no clear plan on the 24-hour
But
economy.
when you say there's no clear plan, you are being
okay.
unfair.
Right. Where's
because
the
we
plan?
say that this permeates every aspect of the economy or key sectors of the economy. Plus, it is demand and incentive driven. What incentive are we giving to business? Whatever incentive we're giving to business to drive or to allow the enabling of a 24-hour creation of the 24-hour economy is part of the drive of the 24-hour economy. There is no destination to the 24-hour economy. It's a continuum. It's a creation of a policy
but
that was birthed
not started
from
yet.
the day. I mean, as far as we're concerned, a budget has just been read. So can you allow the implementation of the budget to see whether this budget would birth a 24-hour economy or not? When you have that, we can have a conversation for another day. But this budget is to birth it.
No, that's not how it works,
It's been
Khalid.
voted into.
Richard, you've been answered.
I'm saying, no, that's not how it works. You see,
So he
Khalid,
now understands 24-hour economy and knows how it works.
But you're saying they're in government now. You want them to run the system and to answer the questions. They've answered you. They're saying there's a plan. You're
that's
saying
not an
that.
answer. Khalid is just shooting from the hip, okay?
No, I mean, you've asked for the answers. They're telling you there's a big push, there's a plan for it.
Listen,
Are you
I am
taking my
reading
invitation to attend the NDC school?
Khalid, no problem.
Are you
I'm
taking the
saying that
invitation?
everything Khalid is saying, okay, he's just shooting from the hip. The minister, there's nothing defined about the 24-hour economy, even as we speak. The minister says that they will be bringing a policy to Parliament for consideration. In that policy, you will see the prescriptions, what the incentives will be, and what the associated cost would be to drive that policy. Okay, so the point I am making to you now is that as we speak, in this first year of the John Dramani Mahama administration, the 24-hour economy is not going to be implemented. It will not.
That's
because
your own projection.
we're going to work on the policy, which policy now will have to be considered by Parliament with estimates and things to be able to go through. And until that is done, there's nothing they're going to tell us that 24-hour economy is working. So my brother is just picking up stuff because he has to fill the space.
In fact, we need to go. We just have a minute to go. Khalid, your final take, and then.
Well, I mean, as I said, this is one of the most inspiring budgets to have. From where we've come from as an economy, right? This is a ray of hope. It promotes investor confidence. It stimulates growth. Right. It is the bedrock that would birth the 24-hour economy, as Richard wants. And we're calling all Ghanaians.
I hope we won't see new taxes soon. Anyway, I will pray against that. Thanks to Dr. Khalid. Thanks to Richard Ahiyangwa of the NPP. Gentlemen, we have to wrap up.
Give me a second to give you my closing
10 seconds for you.
Thank you.
You're really very charitable. You're really very charitable to Richard.
10 seconds. We need to go, Richard.
Listen, this is a very deceptive budget. This is an agenda-setting budget.
Resets, they call it, but thank you all, gentlemen.
It's an agenda-setting budget.
We need to go, gentlemen.
Let's join with a reset agenda.
They will continue that, but we need to go.
We're here to reset the economy.
On the Joy News channel. Grateful to all of you, gentlemen, for joining us. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. Next is Joy News Prime, and it's coming up shortly.